And if you have a continuum of goods, it means that you're going to be spending 30% of your income in 30% of the goods from 0 to 1. Yeah? And you'll spend 80% of your income from in 80% of the goods from 0 to 1. And now the condition that I was talking about, where you have to link how much a country is importing to how much it is exporting, is given by the next equation. World income is going to be equal to world expenditure on food, on goods and services. World income is obviously equal to this. You have L, which is home, L asterisk, which is foreign, so it's the rest of the world, and IOW. And so this is the total income in the two parts of the world. Yeah. So this is the income of home. This is the income of foreign. And this income is equal to expenditure, and it's also equal to output. Yeah. So this also represents how much people are spending. Yeah. Worldwide, or at home and abroad. And what we're saying here is that how much people are spending in the goods that you produce will need to be equal to your income. So that's this equation here. This, to come back, this stuff in brackets is world income, and it's also world expenditure. So home and foreign are spending this amount on those goods from 0 to 1. Yeah? And we know that home's income is going to reflect sales of a certain amount of goods. What we're saying is that it's going to reflect being able to sell a Z number of goods in the world. Yeah? So, for example, if this Z is equal to half, it means that home's total income is going to be half of the world's income, and also half of the world's expenditure. And as you can see, if your income were 0, then it would mean effectively that you're not being able to sell anything. Yeah, so you're not producing anything, and that's why you're not producing, so your income, which is equal to output, would be 0. And so that relative supply curve starts at the origin because of that. And as the number of goods that you produce increases, so as that Z goes from 0 towards 1, your share of world production is increasing, and so will your income. And so let me go back to this curve. This upward sloping relative supply is just that equality. Yeah? And so for the maths, you just get this. So I just solved it for the relative weight, and you get this expression here. Now, as you can see, the higher the Z, the higher your relative income. In other words, if I'm producing a greater percentage of the goods consumed in the world, it must mean that my relative income is going to be higher. But how much you produce will depend crucially on that relative demand schedule as well. And so it's the intersection that is going to give us at the same time which goods you're producing and what your relative wage is going to be. And for those that like to see the algebra of these equations, notice that the curve is going to shift. Will always start at the origin, but it's going to shift downward, to pivot downward every time the population of home increases and every time the population of foreign decreases. This is relevant when you think about comparing, for example, what happens when a small country trades with a big country, or when you think about what happens when the population of one country increases very substantially compared to the population of their trading partners. Yeah? So this is the equilibrium that you get. It's a general equilibrium cannot determine what a country produces without also knowing what their relative wage is. Being able to produce and export stuff to the rest of the world requires you to be able to produce it at a lower cost, but that cost is going to reflect how your relative wage compares to your relative productivity in many goods. So to come back to the example that we started off with, if your productivity is 1/10 of the productivity of another country, the only way you will be able to produce that good at a lower cost is if this relative wage is less than 1/10 the wage of the other country. Yeah? If it's 5%, you're fine. Because per unit, you will still be able to produce it at half of the cost. Okay, so those of you that are have to do the first essay, so it's only I think in week 17. I think you're now perfectly capable of reading the remainder of these slides. I will still go over them in the first 20 minutes or so of next week's lecture. But this is just giving you using the model to explain shocks, and I think it's very illuminating the kind of things we want to talk about. Now, sorry, just let me say one more thing. With lots of third-year units, we are introducing stuff. So there's we expect you to, especially those who are very ambitious, to kind of engage a little bit and read beyond lecture slides and so on. But there's plenty more to this stuff, guys. But the readings are very accessible, in my view, and they will look into more general versions of this stuff. So they'll have lots of countries. They'll have, for example, barriers to trade, transportation costs. They will have non-tradable goods, so there are goods like haircuts that cannot be exported or imported, and so on. Yeah. So this is not the end of trade theory. There's plenty more. There's substitutes to replace with those views. Yeah. This especially it's so requirement if you want to get a really good grade. If you're happy with the 2-1, yeah.